Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking into a really chilling true crime story from way back in the 1920s. New Jersey, the Hall Mills murders.
Okay.
Picture this, a quiet spot, kind of a lover's lane out in the field. And under this lone crabapple tree, 2 bodies are discovered. But it's how they were found. Really meticulously staged.
Yeah, September 16th, 1922. The victims were Reverend Edward Wheeler Hall, pretty prominent local figure, and Eleanor Reinhardt Mills, a singer in his church choir.
Both married.
Both married, yes, but crucially not to each other. So our mission here in this deep dive is really to unpack what some sources call this deliberate communicative tableau at the crime scene.
Okay.
And then understand how, frankly, a completely botched investigation just created this fog of confusion. And also how the media reaction basically wrote the playbook for, every big trial we see covered today.
You said deliberate communicative tableau. What exactly did they find there? What was the scene like? And what kind of message do you think the killer was trying to send?
Well, it was chillingly specific. It really seems like it was designed to expose them. The bodies were laid out side by side, almost looking peaceful, like in attitudes of peaceful repose.
Strange.
Very strange. Reverend Hall had his Panama hat placed over his face. His arm was under Eleanor's neck, and her hand was actually resting on his thigh.
Wow.
And get this, his calling card. Propped up against his shoe, and scattered between them were torn out love letters from Eleanor. So this wasn't just murder, it felt like a public shaming, making their affair undeniable.
But despite that kind of peaceful look, the violence itself was pretty brutal, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely horrific. Reverend Hall was shot once, but Eleanor Mills, she was shot 3 times, and her throat had been viciously slashed ear to ear. The condition of the bodies, the maggots, suggested they'd been dead at least 24 hours.
So that's staging. It wasn't just about killing them.
No, not at all. It feels deeply personal aim at disgracing them, especially Eleanor, given the extra violence towards her, suggests a really intense personal rage.
And any hope of figuring this out just seemed to vanish right away. What went wrong with the investigation?
It was, a total systemic failure. Right off the bat, there was huge confusion over jurisdiction, which county was responsible. That caused critical delays.
Right.
Then the scene itself just got completely overrun. Hordes of people, reporters, sure, but also just the morbidly curious. Any potential evidence was just trampled, destroyed.
You mentioned the calling card earlier.
Right. That calling card, potentially crucial, it got passed around hand to hand by onlookers and officials. Fingerprints contaminated instantly. It turned into a spectacle. People were selling popcorn nearby. Souvenir hunters literally stripped the crab apple tree bare. Branches, leaves, everything.
Selling popcorn. That's why.
Yeah.
So this chaos just completely undermined the case from the start.
Exactly. This breakdown, this absolute lack of control, meant there was a real dearth of credible evidence, made it almost impossible to build a solid case against anyone. And, this chaos, it's really the bedrock of why this mystery is still unsolved. It helps anyone who might have wanted the whole scandal to just disappear.
With the investigation so flawed, attention often shifts to motive. And to get that, we probably need to understand who these 2 people were, their different worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got Reverend Hall, respectable minister on the surface, but he married into serious wealth and status. His wife, Frances Noel Stevens Hall, was an heiress. Her family, the Stevenses, were powerful in New Brunswick, connected to the carpenter fortune, maybe even Johnson & Johnson origins there.
A very prominent family.
Extremely. Frances lived in this grand mansion, and she had these 2 brothers living with her, Willie Stevens, known as eccentric, and Henry Hugel Stevens, who is apparently a crack shot.
Okay, so that's Hall's world. What about Eleanor Mills?
A complete contrast. Eleanor lived in a pretty rundown house. Her husband, James Mills, was the church sexton, worked for Hall, actually. And sadly, James considered Reverend Hall his best friend.
Oh, wow.
And the affair. While people whispered, an open secret, maybe? Hall and Mills apparently saw their connection as something almost sacred. There's talk they discussed liberal theological ideas, that their bond transcended typical morality. So it wasn't just adultery, it might have felt like a kind of theological rebellion. Which,
for a powerful, established family like the Stevenses,
would have been horrifying. Not just embarrassing, but maybe heretical. That could definitely amplify the rage, beyond simple jealousy.
So the case goes cold. But then, 4 years later, 1926, it explodes back into the news. What happened?
Media happened. Specifically, the New York Daily Mirror, a tabloid looking to boost sales. They just dredged the whole thing up, plastering it all over the front page with sensational headlines. It put immense pressure on New Jersey's governor, who basically had to reopen the case.
A tabloid forced a governor's hand.
Pretty much. And that ignited this massive media firestorm. It became the first real trial of the century. Over 300 reporters descended, apparently filing something like 12 million words on it. A national obsession.
You mentioned a paradox earlier, that the media demands justice, but maybe makes it impossible.
Exactly. The press created this absolute media circus. It felt like sensationalism definitely got prioritized over, sober facts. Made a fair trial incredibly difficult.
Was there a key moment in that trial?
Oh, yeah. The prosecution's star witness, Jane Gibson, they called her the pig woman because she raised pigs near the scene. She was apparently ill, brought into court dramatically on a stretcher, pointed right at the defendants, Frances Hall and her brothers.
Sounds dramatic. Did it stick?
Well, really, the defense just tore her testimony apart. Her story kept changing. Neighbors came forward calling her a serial liar. Even her own mother testified against her credibility, calling her a liar publicly.
Ouch. So the verdict?
Acquitted. Frances Hall and her brothers walked free. The jury cited lack of sufficient evidence.
But that wasn't quite the end of the theories, was it?
No, not at all. Years later, other ideas surfaced. Like a Hungarian immigrant claimed Frances Hall had actually paid 2 hitmen, and the lawyer William Kunstler, much later, floated a theory about the Ku Klux Klan being involved, pointing to the symbolic and ritualistic elements of the crime scene.
Interesting. But beyond the unsolved crime itself, what's its lasting impact? You said it wrote the playbook for true crime media.
It really did. That intense public fascination, the screaming headlines, the way reporters swarmed, how facts got twisted for a good story that all became standard. It basically established the genre as we know it. It even directly influenced early legal thrillers, like a novel called The Bellamy Trial.
And you can almost feel its shadow in literature too, right? Like The Great Gatsby, set in the same year, 1922.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald was writing about that same era, those same themes, the stark class divisions, the hidden moral decay beneath the glittering surface, the destructive power of reckless passion. The Hall Mills case was this huge real-life event that just ripped the cover off the Roaring Twenties, showing the hypocrisy, the potential for violence, the rigid structures underneath it all.
So in the end, Frances Hall, acquitted, went on to successfully sue the New York Daily Mirror for libel. And maybe the most ironic part, she was eventually buried alongside Edward Hall, the husband she was accused of murdering.
Yeah, the crabapple tree, the physical landmark, is long gone now. But the questions, they just hang there, don't they? 100 years later, was it Frances, the scorned wife?
Yeah.
Was it hired killers? Was it some kind of twisted moral vigilantism? Maybe the Klan, like Kunstler suggested. We honestly may never know for sure.
A truly cold case.
It is. But the story of Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills, it's just this timeless, chilling reminder, isn't it? That love, jealousy, secrets, violence, that they're eternal. And sometimes the most sensational stories, the ones that grab everyone, are the ones that never really give up their final answer. They just don't end.